What's good, YouTube? Excited to be back with another All 22 film breakdown. This time we'll be evaluating Ohio State linebacker Arvell Reese. And if you ask me, Reese is the most fascinating player in this draft cycle because of the sheer athleticism that he has. Plus, when you look at the position that he plays, like if you look on the defensive side of the ball, positional value, edge is going to be number one. Arvell Reese does a little bit of that. We're going to see it in this film breakdown. But I feel like linebacker, teams that can really hit on linebackers. And when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, they had a good collection of linebackers. Zach Bond was leading that list. Then you look at the 49ers, the last time they went to the Super Bowl, you had Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. In that very same year, although the Ravens didn't get to the Super Bowl that year, they had Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen. Like that was a good collection of linebackers. So if you can hit on that position, you're gonna do really well. And when you just have the overall athleticism and just the physical ability that Reese does, it can be something really special, and your team could really hit on it. So here's Reese right here toward the bottom of the screen, standing at the 26-yard line. Michigan is in a split look with two receivers to the bottom and two receivers to the top. The tailback to the right side of the formation. Ball snapped. Good job and good ability to just really sniff this out. He sniffs out the halfback screen, going to the left side. It's a pretty good design by Michigan. They're going to have the receivers right here towards the bottom of the screen. They're just really going to be clearing out. So that's their duty. That's their job. Then you have the running back on a free release going to the left side of the field right here, or the opposite side of the field from where he's lined up. Reese is able just to track it down. And if we just watch him right here, like his eyes are to the quarterback, he's able to plant one foot into the ground, react. That's one of the things he does best and makes a perfect form tackle. Every time I watch Arvell Reese, the pursuit is just absolutely crazy. So here he is. That's him. He's number 8. Um, like I said, he's like a linebacker slash edge. That's really kind of a hybrid position. That's what Ohio State utilizes him as. And at this position of the linebacker or the hybrid, let's just call it for short, that position, your main response defenses have gaps, right? Like 98 has this gap right here, 95 has this gap, 92 the outside shoulder. That's going to be Arvell Reese's responsibility, the outside shoulder. So he has to keep good pursuit. I want you to watch the footwork. Like he's in a good athletic position, he's square, and just the footwork on this pursuit. So it's a halfback read. He does a good job because it is in the quarterback's hand, and then they kind of do like this fake option or just really an option. He does a good job of staying. I'm gonna say maintaining a level ground. Like he doesn't react too hard off of this to leave to let the tailback spill to the outside, and he also just has really good pursuit. Watch his footwork. Running back's gonna break down. I mean, some guys in open space or in the open field like that, they kind of like hesitate, but no, he just has really good pursuit. He has his eyes attached to that inside hip, and it's hard to break free from him when you are out into the open field. So something to take away. And how you really know someone's a good tackler is they're just so calm and poised out in the open space. Like I'm gonna keep this clip right here short and minimal because I want you to just watch the overall pursuit that he has. Like running backs, they are taught to just really press the line of scrimmage. If you use your vision, use your instincts, being able to read your keys, knowing that your offensive lineman's sliding this way or they're sliding to the right, they're sliding to the left. That's kind of what Arvell Reese mimics right here. And that's the sign of a good linebacker that understands to pick up on the keys in the offensive lineman. So watch him right here towards the middle. You see halfbacks, they even use this kind of same footwork right here. That jump step or that jump cut, he understands that the offensive line, mainly the guards right here, are sliding to the right. So he slides to the right too, gets hands on the center or the offensive lineman, and makes a good tackle. This right here is really good to see from a linebacker. You want to be able to find out how multi kind of how varied they are when it comes to being able to stop the run, being able to rush the passer, and then being able to defend the pass. So here he is right here working up against the running back. The running back's going to be on a choice route, and I just love his patience right here. The fact that he has good patience shows that he's comfortable with covering tailbacks coming out of the backfield, and he's comfortable in his overall athletic ability. So there's the tailback on a choice route, and I love his patience right here just to sit down, not over, and keep stay on the inside shoulder of the tailback right here. You don't want to get too far outside because then that leaves the outside this actually, excuse me, that leaves the inside voided, and you want to keep your outside shoulder with his inside shoulder. That's exactly what Reese does right here. Stays patient to it. Then when the tailback does finally make their final decision, and on the break, you want to get hip to hip right there, like Arvell Reese does. Don't want to reach inside because then that could be a pass interference or any kind of penalty, and he does a great job. Patience and pursuit is just perfect. And then the technique and overall footwork right here is really flawless. So you'll see a lot of times from the defensive end or the edge defender, they'll get into what they call a surf technique. And that surf technique is basically, once I pause it, it's that right there. So Arvell Reese is going to squeeze the gap right here towards the tackle, but he's not going to squeeze too far because you also have to give credit to the outside run. That's what he does right here. He squeezes. Then once you realize, how fast are you able to react? Once you realize that the ball is going to be handed off to the tailback right here, he just does such a good job. Like he stays attached to that inside hip. What's a good thing to do, and this is really well coached from him, and this is something he's picked up on really well, is as a defender, you always want to stay attached to the inside hip because if they cut back inside, they're going to be cutting back into you and they'll be cutting back to help. If they were to bounce this outside, you want to be able to rely on your ability to keep up with them, not let them close the corner and be able to keep them towards the sideline. And that's exactly what he does right there. And he's got long arms. I feel like that's something I haven't mentioned yet. And I'll be able to mention a little bit sooner is that he's got on tape, it looks like really long arms, which is going to help him in the pass rush. You usually hear this trait mentioned or brought up with a lot of running backs, but I feel like it is perfectly applied to Reese's game, which is that he has elusiveness and elusiveness to really slip the blocker, whether that's being able to just dip that shoulder and be able to squeeze past the offensive lineman right here. So watch him. Okay, because I believe it's this offensive lineman right here is going to try to get up to his level. And yep, it's exactly him, gets up to his level. I like how low he stays. In football, you can never be too low. Well, I feel like maybe you can, but the saying is low man always wins. So he gets low right here and he's able to just dip that shoulder or even just kind of jump cut right there. Really good footwork that you're able to see from him. Jump cut, evade the blocker, and then make the tackle or help finish the tackle. Pretty much the same thing we've been talking about here, which is patience and pursuit. And I just want you to be able to watch how fast he's able to go from 0 to 60 and how fast he's able to close space. So watch him right there towards the edge. Good patience, good technique, and then pursue. All right, so now we're starting to get into the fun part of Arvell Reese's tape. This is a run rep, but it's a run rep that has the skills to show you what he can do and or how it could translate to rushing the passer. So there's Arvell Reese right there inside of the circle. I like how he gets his hands onto the offensive lineman, but then he's got, like I said, on tape, it looks like he's got really long arms. It'll be interesting to see how those measure out at the combine or maybe his pro day. But watch him lock out right here. He's able to lock out and just like his block shedding, the way I've seen him throw tight ends, offensive tackles with much larger size than him to the ground or make him look like this is just really impressive. Just an absolute bulldozer. I mean, just like an insane rep. Like, do not put a running back on him because it's probably going to be this kind of outcome. He does such a good job of blowing up this play or really blowing the running back into the quarterback that he almost makes the tackle. He almost makes the block and the tackle at the same time. The one trait when it comes to rushing the passer that he's just honed to an NFL level or an NFL ready level, I feel like, is just the bull rush. To be able to get hands on first, get him right onto that chest plate, and then drive out and extend with the overall power and just athleticism that he has, like those are a really good combination. So he's able to get low, get into that chest plate, and once that happens with the power and athleticism that he has, it's pretty much over and gonna look like this. Like and just long arming him, like that's crazy. And then at this point, you see the turf or the that kind of yeah, you see that turf right there just kick up. So you see the force that's added into the rep. And then to long arm him like that and really control an offensive lineman with one arm like that and get the sack. That's why you see the comparison to him and Micah Parsons. I don't agree with it. I mean, there's obvious similarities. I don't think it's going to be the exact same, but that's why you see it. I want to show this rep because we talked about him as kind of defending the pass. Like he had that really good rep against Texas. That was man to man. So, okay, that's pretty solid. Now you want to see him in what he does versus or in zone because most linebackers when tasked with defending the pass, most of the time it's going to be in zone. And zone is just a feel, it's an instinct. You want to kind of gauge what his feel and instinct is so far, with this being his first full year of playing or playtime. So here he is, and you're going to see from the outside of the screen right here. I think it's the slot receiver. They'll just hitch down to about right, maybe to about middle of the field almost so he sees that wide receiver right here, and I feel like again, it's just a feel thing and how comfortable are you with it. To me, in this instance, he gets a little bit too wide, and I feel like when you're playing zone, you can run with this receiver for a little bit. Like you can understand that timing aspect of the quarterback and knowing, okay, he's probably going to 1, 2, 3 hitch, or by now the ball's probably going to be coming out because he's going to be getting to the top of his drop. So again, it's a timing thing. I feel like he could run with the receiver for a little bit and kind of get a feel of where he's at, but I feel like he gets a little bit too wide. And you see the quarterback be able to recognize it. Like right now, he's thinking about throwing this ball. Eventually, he does, you see Reese, he probably, if you're judging by his helmet, probably doesn't, maybe he sees the quarterback start to raise his arm up or get into that throwing motion, and then he reacts off of it. But I feel like if he just has better feel and instinct and doesn't get too far on this hitch route, that he could be able to make a play on this ball. Heck, with the athleticism he has, maybe even pick six it. When you talk about defensive linemen that are going to be up close with the blockers here, in this instance, you think of them as like, are they a one gap guy, which is like where, for instance, he just shoots this gap right here? Obviously, that's something we've seen him do. Or are they a two gap guy, or are they both? And two gap in the instance, what that basically means is you're responsible for the inside right here and the outside. That's this exact play right here. So he gets onto the tight end, and then remember just those traits that he has with the long arms, being able to control the lineman, controls the blocker right here. Now he's reading. but Downs is going to come crashing down. But Reese is also, he has to respect the edge and he has to have this right here. Because if, you know, Caleb doesn't make the play, Caleb usually does. You have to be able to do so. Running back decides to go outside and then watch his block shedding right here. Block shed, make the tackle. That's perfect. This play right here kind of gives you a picture of what it could he could look like fully polished and taking his game to that kind of level where now he's being able to react or use some creativity to rush the quarterback. So here he is to the edge of the screen right here. There's Reese right there. He's going to be going working with the left tackle right there. You see him use this kind of hand. You see him use or raise his left hand right here to be able to swat the tackle's hand down. Sometimes you'll see edge rushers, particularly, they'll raise that hand up or they'll kind of flash that hand up, which gets the tackle to kind of like think for a second and get his hands up to try to engage with the defensive with the edge rusher right here. So you see that Arvell Reese swats that left hand down, and now at this point right here, swatting that left hand down, he's completely got him. It's just a matter of finishing the play. So finishes the play, rounds the edge, and then of course we see the pursuit and just the speed he has. And I feel like another thing is he's a really good tackler. He makes more tackles than he misses. I like this play a lot from him right here because I think it shows what he can add to his toolbox when his game is fully developed to that kind of level. So there he is inside the circle right there. And pay close attention to his feet. So watch his footwork right here. That left foot, kind of like what we mentioned with Carnell Tate, that kind of rocker step where you're putting all your weight onto one foot to transition to the other, and then you're cutting to the back to the inside. So for instance, if you start with your left, like how Reese does right here, you'll go with your right, and then he's able to dip. I feel like that's one thing he does pretty well of is being able to get low, dip that shoulder, get it under the hands of the offensive tackle right here, and then being able to round that edge. Like let's watch him again round that edge at this point right here. Instead of being carried up the field by the offensive tackle right here, he's able to dip and just cut. Look at how sharp he makes that. He rounds that corner. Most offense, or I should say, defensive edge rushers. Most of them, it's the path isn't at like an L shaped as this one is here. So he starts here and finishes about right there. Like that's really good change of direction and just you see the ankle flexibility. Arvell Reese is just a freak, man. I mean, 87's playing really high. So by doing that, it's not gonna look good for him. But man, just Arvell Reese is just a freak. There's not too many words to describe this play other than just like absolutely crazy. Like, well, I mean, just watch this. Extends the arms, like controlling somebody. That's basically manhandling someone with one arm. Just manhandling, controlling them, keeping that outside arm free, which is exactly the perfect technique you want to do as an edge rusher. And then, oh, he cuts inside. You're going to use that outside arm to just really throw him like a rag doll. Like, that's crazy. This just shows you in a NFL world with so many like athletic quarterbacks, like you think of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, they're able to just somehow always escape some kind of pressures. And it feels like there's no kind of QB spy that you can really put on those guys. And Damon Williams, although not in that same category, is a pretty is a pretty shifty he's a pretty shifty player overall, really. I would say he's when it comes to college football, it's like him and Malachi Tony to be the shiftiest kind of like video game kind of players. And Arvell Reese just does an exceptional job right here. I mean, just keepy spy. Then this is finally where we see it. He breaks down just as good as the ball carrier does, able to make a tackle on a player that's very difficult to bring down. If you wanted any kind of further indication of just the overall athlete that he has, or even get a look at his balance, like this is the perfect play right here. Washington's going to be running a stretch run to the left right here, and just watch Arvell Reese be able to one gap this. And I mean, one of the offensive linemen, I can't remember exactly who, but they're going to make contact with him. I think that's the right guard right there. They make contact with him. He's able to just, I mean, look at that. He's like 6'4", I don't know exactly the weight, but I think it's like 6'4", 245. And if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me into the comments because I feel like I am. But look at that. Look at the balance he has. And then he's able to still like track down the runner. That's something really tough to do, and that's really good. That's got to be like really tough on the ligaments. Last play right here of the film breakdown, and then we got to call it a quits. But there's Arvell Reese right here. And what I just want you to pay attention to is his stop start ability. Like the offensive player has the advantage and they know where they're going to go, and the defensive player doesn't. But man, I feel like he breaks down just as good as the runner right here. So watch him. Runner decides to drift upfield, 1 foot of the ground upfield. Runner decides to break down and fight back to the or go back to the quarterback. He does it just as well too, and he stays in a good position. Like just an absolute crazy athlete. When you draft a player like Arvell Reese, the range of outcomes is at the very least you're getting a player that is one of the best athletes on the field. And combined with that, he's got really good pursuit, he's got good patience, he's got long arms, he's got athleticism, ankle flexibility, very good power. He's able to control offensive linemen, he's able to control blockers, block shed, he's able to use really good footwork in his pursuit of the runner. He's always in a good position to make the tackle. The tackles he wins more tackles than he loses. All of that combined together at his floor or at the very minimum is going to make him a very good player in the National Football League. Now, some areas I feel like he could improve on is when defending the pass in zone. And this is just to make him a complete player overall. I don't feel like he has that kind of overall instincts yet. And a lot of his weaknesses, at least for me when I look at him and evaluate him, is he's only really had 1 full year of starter reps at the collegiate level. Taking into account that, then him being asked to, as a very high draft pick, being asked to do certain things or already kind of have that experience as a starter from college, then to bring it to the NFL, how much is that going to be a burden for him, if it is at all? So, and then if you look at him in his maximum capability, let's say he just completely maxes out. I feel like you're getting a player in the stratosphere of like a Micah Parsons esque. That's like the possible if he's maxed out and everything is polished. When you're talking about pass rush moves, being able to now be an IQ pass rusher plus the athleticism and power that he already has, he can be that kind of type of player. And so I feel like his he's just such a great athlete that it makes him so interesting because he's had very little playing time, then being such a phenomenal athlete the way he is, especially if he's going to be rushing the passer and being used in a variety of ways that Ohio State kind of used him. That just makes him a really intriguing player of like, man, if we get him and we're able to fully develop him to what we think he can be, like the sky's the limit for this guy.